The mountain air bit at my fingers as I arranged the selenotrope flowers, their silver petals like tiny stars against the darkness. From my perch atop the old observatory, the valley below was a scattering of fallen constellations. 5 years, 2 months, and 14 days. That's how long it had been since Elian was gone. I pulled the wooden flute from my pocket, the one I'd carved for his 4th birthday. A birthday he never saw. The eclipse had stolen that afternoon. A sudden, unexplained darkness. The air had shimmered with strange lights, and as we hiked near the mountain springs, my son simply vanished. The search parties found nothing. The wild theories faded. Soon everyone stopped looking. Everyone but me. My work as the observatory's botanist was just an excuse to stay close, to keep searching. Dr. Mehra, the physicist here, once told me, "The resonance of grief alters quantum fields." She meant it as comfort, but for me, it became a mission. My pain was energy. It had to go somewhere. I lifted the flute to my lips and played. The melody wasn't learned. It came from a place deeper than memory, a song that lived between heartbeats. As the notes rose and fell, the selenotrope flowers around me began to tremble. They opened wider than they should, glowing with a soft blue light that no textbook could explain. I'd been documenting these anomalies for months, keeping the secret close. "I know you're out there," I whispered into the music. "I know you can hear me, Elian." The wind carried my song upward, past the clouds, into the star-dusted void. Some nights I thought I heard a reply, a vibration felt more than heard. But tonight was different. As the full moon reached its peak, the flowers pulsed with light, and a meteor shower ignited the sky. One streak of light moved against the others, its path strange, almost purposeful. My heart hammered against my ribs. The light grew larger, brighter, until I had to shield my eyes. It wasn't just a meteor. It was descending. It disappeared behind the forest at the mountain's base, and a moment later, the ground trembled. The selenotropes snapped shut. For the first time in 5 years, I didn't stay to watch the moon. I packed my instruments, grabbed my flashlight, and raced down the mountain path. The research was my cover, but tonight, something more important called to me. Something had arrived. Something had heard my song echoing across the void. And maybe, just maybe, it had come to answer the question I played into the stars every single night. Where is my son? Thank you so much for watching. This story is just the beginning, and I'd love to share more with you. If you enjoyed this, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. It means the world to me and helps me create more content like this for you. See you in the next one. Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a story that bridges the gap between worlds, weaving together profound grief, cosmic mystery, and a mother's unbreakable love. This is The Guardian's Descent. Our story begins with Lyra, a woman haunted by a 5-year-old emptiness. Following an instinct she can't explain, she finds herself deep within a midnight forest, drawn forward by a strange, pulsing light that flickers between the ancient trees. The air is still, thick with the scent of damp earth and pine, but something else hangs in the atmosphere, a silent call that only her grieving heart can hear. When she finally reaches a small moonlit clearing, she freezes. A man stands with his back to her, his attention fixed on the tapestry of the night sky. But as her eyes adjust, she realizes he's not quite a man. His skin shimmers with a faint, otherworldly iridescence, like moonlight on oil. As he turns, his eyes aren't just eyes. They are windows into the cosmos, holding the depth and glitter of distant galaxies. His voice, when he speaks, is like the chime of wind bells carried on a breeze from 1,000,000 miles away. "Your sorrow resonates across dimensions," he says, his gaze gentle but piercing. "For 5 years, I have heard your melody calling through the void." Lyra's hand instinctively clutches the silver flute she always carries, the instrument through which she poured her grief into music. "Who are you?" she asks, her own voice barely a whisper against the profound silence of the forest. "I am Nyx," he replies, his name sounding ancient and profound. "Guardian of the celestial threshold." He begins to walk toward her, his movements as fluid and effortless as starlight dancing on the surface of a still lake. "Your son, Elian. He lives, Lyra." The words hit her with the force of a physical blow. Her knees buckle, the strength draining from her legs. "That's impossible," she chokes out, the hope she'd buried long ago clawing its way back to life. "I've searched everywhere. I've turned over every stone." "Not everywhere," Nyx says, gesturing with a graceful hand toward the star-dusted heavens. "When the solar eclipse occurred 5 years ago, it created a temporary bridge between our realms. Elian was chosen." He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle. His pure life energy, his untainted spirit, made him the perfect candidate to become a starseeder. Lyra stares at him, her mind reeling, trying to process the impossible. "A starseeder?" "They are the cultivators of cosmic gardens," Nyx explains. "These gardens are vital. They produce the energies that sustain the balance of the entire universe." The sheer absurdity of it all ignites a spark of anger within her grief. "You expect me to believe my 6-year-old son was abducted by celestial gardeners? Is that what you're telling me?" The raw pain of her loss sharpens her voice. Instead of arguing, Nyx extends his hand. In the center of his palm, a small, brilliant light begins to form. It coalesces, twisting and shaping itself into a familiar silhouette. A boy. He's taller now, his features more defined, but it's him. It's Elian. In the shimmering projection, she sees him tending to glowing seedlings that look impossibly like her favorite selenotrope flowers, the ones she used to plant in their garden. "Your music," Nyx says softly, his eyes filled with a strange sense of wonder. "It reached beyond our barriers, across the dimensional divide. No human has ever managed to do that." His expression softens, a hint of empathy in his galactic eyes. "I can take you to him, Lyra, but the journey is perilous. The Council forbids human presence in our realm. It is a sacred law." Lyra's gaze is fixed on the image of her son, alive and well. All the fear, the disbelief, it all melts away, replaced by a singular fierce determination. "I don't care about your council," she declares, her voice ringing with newfound strength. "Take me to my son." A slow smile touches Nyx's lips. His form begins to shift and dissolve, the human-like appearance melting away into pure, radiant light. From his back, immense wings of cosmic energy unfurl, shimmering with living constellations and nebulae. He is no longer just a guardian. He is a piece of the cosmos itself. "The passage will change you," he warns, his voice now echoing with celestial power. "Your physical form will be remade, and if you go, returning to this world, it may be impossible." Lyra thinks of her empty apartment, filled with dusty research papers on fringe science and forgotten theories. She thinks of the hollow shell of an existence she has been living, a life built around a gaping hole of loss. She steps forward, her decision absolute. "I've been halfway gone for 5 years already." Nyx nods, and with a gesture of infinite grace, he wraps his luminous, starry wings around her. The familiar forest floor, the trees, the moonlight. It all dissolves into a whirlwind of light and color. Lyra feels her body becoming weightless, her very consciousness expanding, stretching beyond the confines of its human boundaries. They ascend, rising through the layers of Earth's atmosphere, past silent satellites and forgotten space debris, into the deep, velvety blackness between the stars. Light itself seems to bend around them like water in a stream. The last thing she remembers before her perception shifts entirely is the steady, strong feeling of Nyx's arms holding her, a point of stability in a sea of change as the earth shrinks below them, becoming a distant, beautiful blue marble. Lyra awakens to a sensation of floating. She is inside what appears to be a vessel made of living, breathing crystal. Through its translucent walls, she witnesses a breathtaking spectacle. Streams of cosmic matter flow past in ribbons of color her human eyes were never meant to see. Blues that are also purples, greens that shimmer with gold. It's a symphony of light and energy. "We're traveling the celestial currents," Nyx explains. His form has returned to something more human, though he still radiates a soft, internal light. "Stay close to me. These pathways can be disorienting, even fragment the mind of one who is unprepared." Their crystalline vessel navigates through a landscape of impossible beauty. They pass structures that resemble colossal coral reefs made of solidified light, and celestial beings, much like Nyx, glide by, their forms shifting between solid, liquid, and gaseous states in the blink of an eye. The sheer scale and wonder of it all is overwhelming. "How much farther?" Lyra asks, her voice tight as she struggles to maintain her composure, to anchor herself in this alien reality. "Distance works differently here," Nyx replies, his gaze fixed on the currents ahead. "We are traversing realms, not just space. Think of it as turning the pages of a book, rather than walking down a long road." During what Nyx calls a rest period, though the concept of time feels fluid and meaningless here, he teaches her how to breathe. Not air, but the starlight atmosphere itself. He guides her, his fingers brushing against hers, and a surprising ripple of warmth spreads through her newly transformed body. "Your adaptation is remarkable," he says, his voice tinged with genuine admiration. "Most humans, their minds and bodies couldn't survive the initial transition." "I'm not most humans," she states, her focus unwavering. "I'm a mother searching for her child." Their gazes lock, and in the soft, ambient glow of the cosmic river, the moment stretches. Lyra finds herself noticing details she'd missed before. The gentle, almost melancholy curve of Nyx's mouth, the profound depth of understanding and loneliness that swirls in his galaxy-filled eyes. Something shifts between them. "Why did you really come for me?" she asks quietly, the question hanging in the starlit air. "Breaking your council's sacred laws, that seems like a significant risk." Nyx looks away, his profile outlined against a passing nebula. "I have watched over the Starseeders for millennia," he begins, his voice low. "I've seen countless lives begin and end. But I have never witnessed love like yours. So persistent, so powerful that it created a quantum resonance across dimensions. Your music, your sorrow, it was a beacon. It awakened something in me. A curiosity, a feeling I hadn't experienced in eons." Their intimate conversation is shattered by a sudden, violent turbulence. The vessel shudders as a storm of solar particles, a cosmic squall, envelops them. Instinctively, Nyx wraps his protective arms around Lyra, shielding her from the chaotic energy. In that moment, pressed against him, the closeness feels both strange and deeply, inexplicably familiar, like remembering a dream she never knew she had. As the storm subsides, a low, resonant hum fills the vessel. "We're being summoned," Nyx whispers, his expression grim. His lips are so close to her ear she can feel the vibration of his words. "The Council has detected your presence." Hello, and welcome back to our story. If you're just joining us, Lyra has journeyed across dimensions, guided by the celestial being Nyx, in a desperate search for her son, Elian, who vanished years ago. She's just arrived at the heart of this new world, a place called the Council of Light. The council was made up of 7 beings whose forms were never still, constantly shifting like living energy. Their voices weren't spoken. They resonated directly inside Lyra's mind, a chorus of pure thought. "The human disrupts the balance," they proclaimed, their collective consciousness focused on her. Guardian Nyx has violated our most sacred covenant. Nyx moved to stand protectively beside Lyra, his presence a comforting warmth against the overwhelming power of the council. She has harmonized with our realm naturally, he argued, his own thoughts ringing with conviction. This is proof that our separation from Earth was never meant to be absolute. The council deliberated in a silent symphony of frequencies, a debate that happened on a level far beyond Lyra's understanding. She could only wait, her heart pounding in the quiet. Finally, they reached a decision. She may see the child cedar, their voices echoed in her mind. Then she will face judgment. They were escorted through corridors made of shimmering crystal to a vast biodome. The sight inside stole Lyra's breath. Hundreds of children and young adults, all with an otherworldly grace, tended to plants that seemed to defy the very laws of physics. There were flowers that bloomed in intricate, ever-changing fractal patterns, and trees whose fruits held miniature, swirling galaxies. It was a garden woven from starlight and dreams. And then, Lyra's heart stopped. She saw him, Elian. He had grown tall, his movements fluid and graceful as he coaxed a silver sapling to twist into complex, beautiful geometries. The hair still curled at the nape of his neck, just as it had when he was 6 years old, a tiny, heart-wrenching detail from a life she thought was lost forever. But when he turned, his eyes held the same cosmic depth as Nyx's, a universe of stars where a little boy's gaze used to be. "Elian," she whispered, the name a fragile prayer on her lips. He turned fully, studying her with a curious, almost academic detachment. "That was my Earth name," he said, his voice calm and distant. The flicker of recognition in his eyes was so minimal, so faint. It was nothing like the tearful reunion she had imagined countless times in her lonely nights. "I'm your mother," Lyra said, tears finally breaking free, forming weightless droplets that hung in the starlit air between them like tiny jewels. Elian approached her cautiously, his brow furrowed in concentration. "I remember music," he said slowly. "A wooden instrument." With trembling hands, she offered him the flute she had carried across the void. His fingers brushed against the polished wood, hesitant at first. Then, a spark ignited in his eyes, a genuine flash of memory. "You played this," he said, his voice softer now, "when the stars rained down." Nyx watched their exchange, and for the first time, Lyra could sense a profound emotion radiating from him. "Star seeders retain impressions of their human origins," he explained gently to Lyra, "but their consciousness expands beyond individual identity. They become part of a larger whole." "He barely knows me," Lyra whispered, the words catching in her throat, her heart shattering all over again. As if on cue, the council's summons echoed through the garden, a mental command that couldn't be ignored. Judgment awaited. As they walked back to the council chamber, Nyx's presence was a solemn weight beside her. "You face an impossible choice," he told her, his voice low. "You can remain here, but you would be transformed permanently, your human self lost forever. Or you can return to Earth, alone, and with no memory of ever finding him." Lyra looked back one last time at the garden. Elian was already absorbed again in his cosmic gardening, a celestial being with only fragments of the sun she remembered. "There must be another way," she insisted, her desperation turning into resolve. She reached for Nyx's hand as the towering crystal doors of the council chamber opened before them. "The human has seen enough," the council decreed as they entered. The soundless words were cold and final. "Guardian Nyx, prepare her for memory dissolution and Earth return." "Wait!" Lyra stepped forward, her voice surprisingly strong. She would not be dismissed. "Your star-seeders are here to cultivate cosmic balance, but you've created a profound imbalance by separating worlds that should have remained connected. A murmur, like a ripple in space-time, passed through the council. Nyx looked at her with a newfound sense of wonder. Buoyed by a surge of desperate strength, she continued. I propose a bridge. My research on Earth with my selenotrope plants shows they respond to cosmic influences. What if the boundary between our realms could be permeable? What if we could allow for an exchange without causing disruption? She reached into her pocket and pulled out a single tiny selenotrope seed. These flowers bloom only under celestial light. They're already halfway between our worlds. The council conferred again in their silent dimensional frequencies. The air crackled with their deliberation. Finally, the central figure addressed her. Demonstrate this harmony. Without hesitation, Lyra knelt and planted the small seed in a crack on the crystal floor. Taking her flute, she closed her eyes and played the melody that had called Nyx across the void, the song of a grieving mother's heart. The seed responded instantly. Crystalline roots, shimmering with light, sprouted and began to intertwine with the cosmic architecture of the floor. Nyx moved to her side, his energy merging with her music, a powerful harmony that accelerated the growth. The selenotrope blossomed in an impossible burst of light, its petals unfurling to create a miniature, shimmering gateway between dimensions. Drawn by the familiar music, Elian approached. He reached out and touched the strange, glowing blossom. As he did, images flickered within its petals. The mountain observatory, the forest clearing, fragmented memories of his human childhood. A memory garden, he whispered, a true smile gracing his lips. A place between. The council witnessed this all with a cautious but undeniable interest. Perhaps, their collective thought conceded, there is more wisdom in connection than in separation. Their judgment when it came was not what Lyra had expected. She would be allowed to establish a garden at the dimensional threshold, a place where human grief could transform into cosmic renewal, where star-seeders like Elian could reconnect with their origins without losing who they had become, and where the boundary between realms could remain fluid and alive. Months later, though time flowed differently now, Lyra stood in her mountain observatory. It was transformed. Selenotropes bloomed year-round, their ethereal glow filling the space, each flower a tiny, living gateway. Nyx appeared beside her, his form gently shifting between a human-like shape and his celestial self as he moved freely between the worlds. The council reports an increase in cosmic harmony, he said, his voice a warm hum. Your bridge is working. Elian visited often. He was slowly recovering more fragments of his human self while retaining his incredible star-seeder abilities. He wasn't entirely the son she had lost, nor was he completely a cosmic stranger. He was something new, something wonderfully in between. Did you ever imagine this outcome when you heard my flute across the void? Lyra asked, as Nyx's fingers intertwined with hers. He turned to her, the universe in his eyes focused solely on her. I came seeking the source of the most beautiful sound in the universe, he replied, drawing her close. I found so much more. As they kissed, the selenotrope blossoms around them pulsed with a soft, radiant light, bridging the worlds that were never truly meant to be separate. Lyra's grief, once an all-consuming void, had transformed into something greater, not just a reunion, but a renewal of cosmic proportions. Here, in the garden between the stars and the earth, love had created a new kind of celestial miracle. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more adventures. We'll see you next time.